I think it could be Yellowstone. We found it. It fit the mountain town. Is our
we'll have to play that.
Is our intro here, and welcome Rosie and Bret Lamberson.
Thank you.
Everyone, I can't not be more excited. I know everyone that knows Rosie and Bret are super excited to then see them on an interview together on a podcast. This is a slice of Flagstaff. I know you like to play it down, Rosie. And for those of you that don't know, we have, and I know they won't name their own accolades, so I'm gonna walk you through a little bit here. So, Rosie, well, you've been in town for how long? Have you been in Flagstaff for, Rosie?
Since Bret was 4, and you're how old now? How many years is it, Bret?
1980, yeah, it's been
In the 1980s, and so which brings us to, and then owners of, so family owns Mountain Sport, which is celebrating. You explained to me they are coming up on the 50th party for Mountain Sport downtown.
That is 50.
50. And how big you're bringing all the employees to
Trying to get the word out there too to all the employees that have worked at Mountain
a
Sports
massive
over
party.
that many years.
So if you guys know anyone, get the.
Okay.
Yep. So if you know anyone that's been an employee at Mountain Sport, have them reach back out to the Lambersons and the Lamberson family. But we also have Flagstaff Real Estate runs very deep in the blood of the family here with Rosie. How long have you been a licensed real estate agent?
Lisa was in kindergarten, so 6. Oh my goodness, close to 40 years.
40 years of
Close
Flagstaff
to,
Real Estate.
yeah. I don't have the gold watch yet or anything.
That is, I would probably say real estate agents still doing business in Flagstaff that have that type of tenure are less than the fingers of one hand, I'd probably guess.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Wouldn't you guess? I know there's a lot of
handful.
20-years, a lot of 25ers.
It's you and Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Me and Freddie is the one that got me into real estate. I don't know if you know that.
No.
It was over lunch. She actually, we bought our first townhouse from her.
Yeah.
Because her husband was the manager at a ski shop.
Oh, okay.
So that was the connection.
Yeah.
And so she became our realtor.
Okay.
And we became friends.
Okay.
And over lunch one day, I said, I thought about maybe going into real estate. And, I've been in retail my whole life.
Yeah.
Had the 2 kids. We'd moved here. And before I knew it, she had an office for me at Realty Executives at Dave McCormick's. He had just remodeled downtown. I'd never even walked in. She said, go take the test and come on in. So that was my first day walking into the office. And they gave me an office.
That is awesome. So yeah, and Big Dave's one of those long-termers. Mm-hmm. And that is, again, that's just real estate history there. And they were still on Cherry at the time?
That's right.
So, wow.
It was on Aspen.
It was on Aspen.
Was it
you're
Aspen
right,
time?
not
Okay.
Cherry. You're right, Bret.
So now, gotcha. So they moved over.
And then he bought that blue building.
Yeah.
And we moved over there.
Gotcha.
And I had the back porch.
And when I first moved into town, so 14 years ago, you were already at Russ Lyon. So how long have you guys been at Russ Lyon now?
I was there a year after they got here.
Okay.
So however many years that's
I think it was
been.
2005 when Jim and Todd came to town. And
okay.
Yeah, we were.
And I knew that was going to be I wanted it to be my last move, and it was a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so did you always know that, hey, follow mom around? Were you like going to showings?
Wait, it was Freddie too, wasn't it?
Freddie and mom were very persuasive when I was looking for a career path and a profession.
Gotcha.
And I'd been in Colorado and California. I'd moved out of town for a couple of years here and there after college, and was coming back to Flagstaff and trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And Freddie and mom were strongly recommending.
Come on.
Did you have
real estate?
That says a lot though, because I wonder, so real estate is nowhere in my genes, and
mortgage broking's nowhere in my genes either.
Yeah, well, like mortgage and real estate. I'm saying like mortgage and real estate. Like my parents were like extremely conservative, like financially, like fiscally conservative, and so like, anywhere near what we're doing, because I'll tell you, there's a hilarious, Dave Ramsey, the financial, radio talk show guy, was a real estate agent for a long stint of time. And so he has, and I think this is perfect, because he says when he's talking to folks about, and now really coaches people to be fiscally conservative, but when he tells them, he's like, when I moved into real estate, the first thing they do is they take your risk meter and they break it. Right. So I was just saying, like, the things that, so like investing in real estate, purchasing real estate, like it's all can be very scary. And so, again, like nowhere. So this is completely not my genes, but I'm very curious now of how my kids will react and respond to then what I do and my level of risk, and also then how the career plays into like family life. So you obviously weren't like burnt out from mom being an agent, or didn't have a negative. Did you have like positives, or was it pretty net neutral?
That's a good question.
Growing up with it.
It was positive. It was all positive, without a doubt. Yeah, I could tell that it was a great profession for mom. You enjoyed it. You're really good at it, great at it. And it was retail with dad and real estate with mom. And I definitely tried retail out too.
Yeah.
I worked at Mountain Sports a lot. And when it came down to it, real estate was definitely the best fit. And I love it. I loved it from the get-go. I had great mentors. We have so many great personalities and friends in this business here in town. We have so many amazing colleagues. And after, in my case, it's been 22 years, it's been the best. I just love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting to me even though, Mark and Lisa went a little bit more of the retail, Bret and Rosie, a little bit more of the real estate, is that both embody community, and you guys do a ton with community, and everyone every downtown person is like, part of it's all part of, Flagstaff, and you guys and Lambersons are all just this big thing. And so one question that I have, though, before we go too far down the real estate path, and as I was hearing your stories here, is that there's also, so like community and real estate and retail, but there's also this like Lamberson hippie vibe we got to talk about. Right. And so like anytime I talk about Bret Lamberson, my wife is like, oh, that's the guy that drives the cool car. Right. And then, and so you guys have like this flower child aspect and this love for cars, because as you were describing things, you're like, and we drove
weird
in
cars.
the Torino, right? And so Rosie has this love for cars and this hippie vibe style and old cars. Maybe it's just more about old cars. Help me understand this passion of kind of that unique and classic style you guys have.
I'm from Indiana, originally.
Okay.
And my brother is a car collector.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They're old cars and fire engines.
Oh, okay.
He's a big collector.
Gotcha.
I didn't really get the bug, but I do look at cars, and I like different looking ones. Like I had that green XB, that shoebox on wheels when it came out.
Yep.
Just because I thought it was cute and it was different, you know? And so I don't know. Now I drive a Kia, but it's kind of normal.
Okay. Yeah. Did you sell the VW bus?
I still have it. I can't
get
rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just keep thinking it's going to be my condo on wheels, and I'm just going to take off one of these days.
What's Mark's thoughts on that?
What's that?
What's Mark's thoughts on that?
He's okay with it.
He's okay with that?
Yeah. He's
Saddle
okay
up?
with that. Yeah.
Okay, travel a bit. And you're, you have multiple vehicles. You have the family vehicle, right? And the showing vehicle. But more of than, you also have that classic BMW, right?
We love the classics, yeah.
And what's that one?
It's a 1970 2002 is the model.
Okay.
And it's my second one.
Okay.
And we're also driving Steph's dad's 46 Willys right now, too.
Gotcha.
So come on over. We'll take you out.
Yeah. Did he restore the Willys?
It's original.
It's original.
Second owner. And it's in perfect condition. So
nice.
Yeah. We love the classics. I mean, you've been known to walk out of Barrett-Jackson with a car before, too.
I went down there with my brother and his team on Thursday when there's no reserve. And I got myself a Mercedes.
Okay.
Because Mark wanted a touring car.
Okay.
And so we decided that's a good touring car.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, they only made like 1,300 of them or something because it had some sort of engine in it. And had a back window in it. And It was ocean blue with white interior. I brought that home I used up all the gas from Phoenix to here.
Full tank in that thing.
And you could just smell it burning. I had it for 6 months, and I ended up selling it to my insurance agent because it was just too nice of a car for me.
Yeah.
It's like a 72 something.
Yeah, we got to think for classics.
That's awesome. Got to think for the classics. Well, very cool. And as far as then, well, and so in the journey, as we finish out some journeys here a little bit that are continuing here. So you also, in your stint of real estate, became an attorney,
Yes.
but then came back to real estate.
Yes.
So what brought you back to real estate from law? Because you were, and actually, tell us a little bit, because I know there was a whole journey in law. You were practicing a very specific and very noble type of law in California. So tell us a little bit about that.
That was always the plan. Ever since the early days in real estate sales, I was really interested in real estate law and was always interested in practicing real estate law along with being involved in sales. And so finally in 2012, went and made the leap and went to law school. And while I was there, I had a real estate internship, and I was required to have 2 internships, and you couldn't do the same one twice. And the office next door is in immigration law. And so I went and knocked on that door asking for an internship. And my partner, mentor, and now one of my best friends, Yevgeny Sverdlov, was who answered. And he's an absolute immigration law guru. And we specialized in asylum and refugee law. And so I fell in love with that and spent an extra 3 years in San Francisco practicing that. And
in that time frame, there was a lot happening in the immigration world.
It was amazing. It was action packed, and I practiced real estate law as well in landlord tenant and commercial law there, and so I had a couple different practice areas that I dove into, but it was because of Gene and the asylum work itself that I really fell in love with immigration and ended up staying in San Francisco for 3 years longer than I'd planned.
Okay.
And it was, the intent was to punch my ticket out of law school, get back here right away, and get into practice back in Flagstaff and have that as a hybrid with sales as well.
Yeah.
And so with that 3-year delay or 3-year holdover in San Francisco was awesome.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the day I got back to Flagstaff and how I just felt like I was coming up for air. Because once, I started law school the day after I moved to San Francisco. So I didn't have time to really even think about what was going on because everything was so intense right out of the gates. And it just continued like that for 6 years, which was awesome. But like I always say, this is definitely my natural habitat here. I love it.
So, and is it from just either the family, community, or do you prefer to be closer to the ski and drive to the surf versus?
That's it.
Gotcha.
Everything here, and then we've got the ocean 8 hours away.
Yeah.
So it's easy enough to get there. It's really hard to get out of the city to go to the mountains to do all the things we love about it here, where, we just take a short hop in any direction and you're doing what you love here.
I was gonna say so, and then for those of you guys listening, that Bret is an avid surfer. I knew that really quickly when we were first starting. Like when I moved to town, and was first getting to know you guys and working on clients here and there. It was like, oh, Bret's going here on a surf trip, or Bret's going there on a surf trip. And so
the one you went to Indonesia, that was the one that really, as a mother, kind of got me. You got on this boat that was made out of styrofoam in the middle of nowhere and was cracking up, right?
That was one for the ages for sure. We had a lot of fun. That boat, we pulled it off.
Yeah, you're here.
Talk about risk meter. So maybe it wasn't real estate, it was surfing that broke Bret's meter.
But I love it too, but it's easy enough, and that's to take trips.
Well, and then you're chasing the wave, right? So that's the thing, was if you live in San Francisco, you're still maybe chasing the wave. You're still getting on a plane somewhere.
You're chasing the wave of Henry now, though.
Yeah. With the baby, it's a big wave.
Has Henry surfed his first wave yet?
No.
How old's Henry?
He's 2.
2, yeah. So we're getting close.
But
he loves the ocean.
Oh, and he does ski. You got him on the keys, right?
Snowboarding, yeah.
Okay.
And he loves swimming. He loves the water. So we'll get him out there.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So you got him up at Snowball a little bit this last year?
Bunch, yeah.
On the board or the skis?
He had both set up, so we'd give him his choice. And
Yeah.
each day he'd ask him which one he wanted to do more. And he's trending snowboarder so far. It seems like he likes that a little more.
That's awesome that you gave. So being a snowboarder, I've never skied, but I wanted my kids to love this, being on the mountain. I wanted them to love that, and I'm not about the skier snowboarder fight, right? I know we made skiing cool again, and now it's like, we help each other out, and so. But I started my kids on skis. My kids have never boarded. My 10-year-old wants to try the boarding now, but that's awesome. Did you do both as growing up?
I love them both.
Okay.
I absolutely love
Is it
them
more
both.
so a condition driven or just whatever you're feeling that day?
It is. It's conditions.
A lot of people are like, hey, if it's deep, take the board, right? Surf it, and then.
I keep both setups in the car all the time. Get a look at it and see. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And did you go? So I know you were saying that you moved to Aspen as part of your journey.
Mark, he was a ski instructor in Aspen.
And Mark was a ski instructor in Aspen. Okay.
And he worked in a ski shop at the time. And
where was Mark from originally?
Midwest.
Okay.
Cleveland area.
Okay.
New Jersey.
Okay.
But then he moved west to go to school in Boulder.
Okay.
That's where Colorado came in.
Gotcha.
And so he taught me how to ski.
Okay.
And the three of them, Bret, Mark, and Lisa, are built for it. They have a passion for it.
Yeah.
I never really did.
They just had the hot chocolate ready when they get
I'll
off the
make
hill.
the chili and wait for you guys to come home. The thing that would get me, though, is I'd stay home and I'd be all zenned out, making chili, and they'd be coming home in a few hours, and I had the house all clean, and they would come clomping in their ski boots, and it's like, really, you guys?
Oh, yeah.
But that's a mother.
And kids don't know, my kids, it's like you can see the trail of their action of there's the beanie and then the mittens and then it's just, and it's not one spot, but it's like, yeah.
You gotta love it.
I went on strike once.
Oh, did you?
Remember that, yeah.
I remember that. I do. It was a full week, I think.
Well, I was working, and I was like, everybody needs to pull their weight. And they were like, okay. And, well, where's the laundry you're going to do? I haven't gotten to that. So finally, I just went on strike, but I couldn't stand it after 2 weeks because of the dust bunnies around the house.
So, we have this mother-son dynamic, which this is a Hallows team podcast first. We gotta embarrass Bret a little bit. So I'm gonna ask, and this will be, don't worry. Can you tell us? So it's a two-part question. Can you tell us one thing that you always knew Bret was good at from the get-go, and that's just something about Bret? And then, but maybe the first question we should say, one thing that Bret was not good at that you knew he was going to have to figure out, and he learned his lessons.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is just, you birthing you and having you as a baby and knowing who you were, from the get-go. And you were just easy and it kind of observed the room, compassionate.
Okay.
Is the first word that comes to my mind.
I like that.
And what was the second question? Like, what
one
he
thing
needed
that
to
you
learn?
knew, and at least this is identifying my kids. Like, there's one thing, Charlie, you're gonna have to figure that one out, or it's gonna be a rough.
Charlie's got everything figured out.
That's one thing she needs to figure out. She doesn't. But what's something that you thought, or that growing up you've seen Bret learn, that you knew, hey, you're gonna have to tackle this to be an effective adult, or is there anything that Bret had to learn some tough life lessons with?
I'll have to think about that.
Oh,
I
don't give him so much credit.
I know it's there.
Each of my kids, I see that with each of my kids. Like, each of my kids, they got certain things down, and other things this is where you're gonna, especially strengths too sometimes, right?
Oh yeah.
Strengths can be weaknesses, or how you have to, how you're gonna have to learn to moderate that, right, or something of that nature. I don't know.
Well, this is a comparison. I mean, just when you look at your kids,
Sure.
One's this
Yeah,
way and the
yeah,
other
yeah.
one's that way. you know, you used to be shy.
Okay.
And it was, but, you know, I didn't want him to rule the room or anything. But, you know, and Lisa's not shy. She would walk into the room, and not that she would own it, you know, but people would just notice her the way that she would come into the room. You were just more in the background, the way that you would walk in the room. And maybe that's what I would think about, you know, you'll get it.
Yeah. Well, and that plays in like the strengths, the weakness, right? If you use the taking the room in, compassionate, but also kind of more that soft-spoken and having to figure out when to assert yourself. So when you're in your broker meetings in Restline, as Bret is now the broker of Restline Sotheby's here in Flagstaff, does that shy ever play into it? Or are you more confident now?
I figured it out, I think. But I remember that. And I still tend to be, I consider myself to be a little bit reserved.
Yeah. You have to work on being extroverted that way. Is that right?
Maybe. I mean, I certainly, I love people. I love friends and family and or just community and being part of it and being in it. But I think I might have figured that one out. To your point, is because I do remember being shy, and I remember specifically some times where, you know, like my first day working at Mountain Sports, I might have been my first day working on the floor, you know, on the sales floor.
Yeah.
And I might have been 15-ish. I don't even know. And I grew up there, and I'd seen everything happen. All friends, family, everybody. I felt like I knew everything about it. And I go and clock in, and I get out there. What do I do? What do I do? And I felt this kind of wall kind of come over me where even just, and I forget if it was mom or dad. They're like, well, just go say hi. You know, when somebody comes into the shop, go say hi. I was like, okay. And I think that was probably one of the helpful steps in figuring that out.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, of course, you're having a ton of fun with it. So.
Exactly. And there has to be something of, as I hit my my chair here, it's kind of fun as we talk through this, that you see all these different life experiences that mold your personality, and then it molds how you see the world, right? And mold your skill set. Because I could probably go so far as to guess, as I'm hearing you say this, and thinking of the Bret I know now, and then the Rosie who you grew up with, of like, you were probably getting pretty good as the time went on, of like, all right, this is what this person is coming in for, or what this person could use. Not that you're selling people, but right. Is that a skill set that you gained along the way?
Yes.
And then that just plays right into like real estate, right? Of like wanting to take care of people, I loved when I went into the store and did that interview with Lisa. And it was like this whole thing, like I love, like we commoditize so much these days, right? Of like, I need a coat. I'll go on Amazon, I'll order that. And then you're like, you don't know what you're buying. You don't know who's producing it. You don't know why it's produced. And when you sit down there and you understand, you know, the Lambersons' love for the community, and then their belief in the brand, the Patagonia, sticks right in with them.
1% for the planet.
Yeah, and then they repair things for life, and like they actually want to have a sustainable, like make a product that you can take outdoors. Now this is a big Patagonia advertisement, but that's going to be respectful to the outdoors. And so there's just all these crossovers with then exactly, it's just such a beautiful marriage and a fit. And so just the way that, you know, I see that Mountain Sport wants to take care of the community and really believe in the community that they serve. That plays right into your guys' real estate careers, right?
It does. That's a great comparison, because something that we cherish this community. We love Flagstaff, and I think so many of our colleagues do too. And we're all in critical roles for this community, and to be to always have that in mind and always be mindful of what that means for the essence of our community. Yeah. Because we have kids who are raising here, and after being raised here, they're so many things that we love, and I think by and large it's amazing. People who like the same things we like, who want to be part of this community, who are moving here, really embrace it and enhance it in a lot of ways.
It's hard. It's
a big
hard
challenge.
now. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of a segue to real estate.
Absolutely.
And how, even for the 40 years that I've been in it, I can remember years ago saying to a couple they were older, and they wanted to retire here, and they ultimately ended up retiring here, but they looked at like South Carolina and a few other places that were more affordable even then. And, I said, yeah, we're kind of special here. And that has gone exponential in the last 5-6 years too, for those families, like, your family coming back here.
Yeah.
Once they maybe leave home, when they grow up, and it's you want them to come back, but
You do.
you want them to fly,
Yeah.
but you want them to have that opportunity to come back, and that's somewhat of the challenge. We've always been a dual income Flagstaff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mom and dad both working, most
Yeah.
of us.
Oh, yeah.
It's always been one of the top 3 in the state, pretty much, right?
Is
As
that
far
right?
as,
Yeah.
well, when you were first slinging real estate, do you remember if Flagstaff was always kind of considered like a spendier town, or when did that really shift?
It's always been there.
It's kind of
we've
always been a
always
little
been
more expensive
pretty
compared to like
proud.
Phoenix and
Right, and
yeah.
what they say you can get,
Yeah.
quote unquote. But
Sure.
we're proud, to be able to have ownership.
Yes.
And now, those entry levels are over 400,000, and people they apologize for, oh, I know it's not very much, and I can remember I used to say to people when it was like 250,000,
Yeah.
that's $250,000. And now it's almost $500,000. That's nothing to snuff at. You don't have
No.
to apologize for that.
No, but there's this relative factor to it. I think that's, so it's, you guys have seen a lot of shift and change, and then it's one of the things that I've caught hold of is control is a myth, right? No one's in control of this. There's no person we can put on stand and trial of why Flagstaff is on trial. If anything, it's what we can, put on trial of why Flagstaff is trending how it's trending is, the irony of exactly what's around us and what it has to offer, right?
Yeah.
The exact reasons that drove us here, they aren't going away. Like, right? The Flagstaff summers, the mountains, the ski resorts, the, proximity to Sedona, Grand Canyon, Lake Powell.
Any given point that if you drive out of here, it's gorgeous.
Oh, what you have within like a 15-minute radius of like your daily, your hikes, your bikes, your everything to, then you go to like a 1 hour or 2 hour with like, I've been taking youth backpacking and different things. And from even that 2 hour, what the drastic differences. I don't know, this is then becoming a travel commercial here. So we're not going down that path, but that's where I think that's hard, is because people are real, it's a secret that's now spreading a little bit more. All those selfies, right? And all it's definitely expanding there. And then we see generationally of like, hey, we've made it. We planted deep roots. Me and my wife for the last 14 years. She just came to school here, and then I came and traveled here, and it's like, okay, this is it. We can't find anything else that has this. But then with seeing how the market, especially in the last 5 years, the last 3 years, of just seeing how things have accelerated, that's been a big question for me of like, how's Henry? How are, Charlie, Reese, Van, and Finn, how are our kids going to make it? Did you ever have, so I'm curious though, within that context, because we have very short-term memories, did you ever have those concerns? So like, how are Bret and Lisa going to make it?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lisa Bret and I bought your first house on South O'Leary when you went to college.
Okay.
And then, you bought me out. And then Lisa, she was able to buy a home, when was it, 2005, when you could fog a mirror?
Okay.
Was that what year that was?
I wasn't here at that point in time, so I didn't do the mirror test for her, but
and
She got a stated income loan.
yeah.
Pulled it off.
yeah.
She pulled it off,
But
got the house, worked
it was
out.
laughable, you know, that they
She
were
got
giving,
in though.
and I think it was with Nikki.
Oh, is it Nick Nikki at the time? I love it.
I can remember her. And it wasn't just her, but there were 1,300 programs that you could be put into, and then
Different
when
time.
it fell,
Yeah.
there were 5.
Yeah. Yep.
That is that's just the nature of the business and real estate, the regulation, deregulation.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it fun, you know, it's always changing.
It is always changing. And you have to have, you have to have a little bit of faith, a lot of bit of faith.
Yes.
Right. And because I would assume that inventory has always been a crunch in Flagstaff.
Yes, it has.
Right. We're seeing that nationally. And so it's this like nuanced problem nationally because of a lot of larger pieces at play there. But it's always been an issue at Flagstaff.
We're
because
so confined,
of,
as we know, with the national forest, around us. And that's what's always made us so proud.
Well, that's the magic here.
Mm-hmm.
Why we're here
time.
is all that activity, all the bounty around us in every direction. Mm-hmm. It also is part of the challenge when it comes to being able to be here, without a doubt, for values. But you get what you pay for, is what I always say, and it's always been expensive, but it's always worth it.
Yeah.
And there's always an opportunity too. And a lot of people, I see it all the time, especially right now. A lot of people are just to get in the game and get their starter.
They're happy
home
when
here
they do.
do
as
find
hard
a
as
way.
it is.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, it's you work really hard. Your partner, if you have one, works really hard.
Yeah.
And you play really hard too, and you make it happen. And so but there are always opportunities for sure.
And I love that, the hindsight, right? And with time, and it's just like, we don't remember sometimes, like our memories are so short term oftentimes. And I had these clients that they were just trying to swing at their first time home. And I was telling them, like, you're ahead of the game. Like this couple was in their 20s and like just trying to work hard and get into a home and believing in that American dream, that they need to quit paying rent and they need to be able to have some freedom, right? On not dealing with landlord issues and what they can and can't do and that type of thing. And they were struggling, had a bad experience with an offer, like just going sideways and things not coming together. And, you're going to be out some money on inspections and things. And, that's always a little bit of a bitter sting, salt in the wound. But they kept trying. They bought a home in March, and they actually circled around with me, and I loved it. And more clients should be doing this, because they were like, hey, we love this home, but this isn't our forever home, Chris. 2-3 years down the road, we want to be closer to Flagstaff, because we moved a little. The first home had to be a little bit drive, but we want to be closer. What should we be doing now? Let's circle around on those goals. And I love that, like 4 months after the purchase, and they were so like they'd already. We could recall it and kind of go back on the war stories on, oh my gosh, that got a little crazy and you were so scared, and the payments. But look, the rate's a percent better than they are now. Like back in March, just where things have trended.
That's what's so great about you is, and this is a plug about you, that I've always felt this way, that you can make plans with people. Not everybody does that.
Yeah, you give people a plan, a roadmap.
Yeah.
And that's...
You like that.
Oh, that's our, like, we got a little map or a little topo here. Yeah, you have to navigate, right? You have to navigate. And I think people have to navigate a little more now and a little bit more, than they had to. You could fall into some deals. But I do think that's a huge piece, that people need to be talking to experienced people and making, like, don't come off the couch. Like, just like, you don't want to come off the couch and hide the Grand Canyon. Had some buddies of mine do it, and they were hurting for a little bit last month. You don't want to come off the couch and think like, all right, that payment's just going to swing and it's going to work.
Yeah.
But one of the questions I wanted to make sure that we cover here, because, there's folks that sell real estate and there's folks that buy real estate. And folks that sell real estate, they transact a lot more and have a lot more experience with it. But there's even a more unique category of folks that you guys fit into, of folks that really love all different aspects of real estate and are personally involved in lots. From, you guys have owned rentals, you love it, renovating property.
I do.
You do. And you do it smart. Rosie does it smart, where she pays people to do it versus like I'm the one with like drywall in my like forever in my
I'm
lungs.
envious of that. I wish I were like that.
Yeah, but I'm curious to know from those experiences, what are some of the things that you love most about the other facets of real estate from renovation, and what do you love about it? And then maybe talking about what are things you tolerate. Kind of that real talk of like, you know, here's the bottom line on what maybe you don't know about renovating or owning or flipping that you maybe should, because you guys have done about everything.
Well, I think that for me, you know, when I'm showing properties, I see the possibilities for my people and I get excited.
Yeah.
They're like, really? At first, and then they can get excited. And that's contagious that way. It's like, oh, no, you're going to just do this and do that, you know, do it.
And I think because you do it probably like, and this, if I can so aspire to be similar to Rosie Lamberson here, kind of, is it like Michelangelo in the stone, right? Do you know this one? Is like, and was he the stone? He carved stone, right?
I think he did it all.
He did it all. He painted ceilings.
He wouldn't, so they say that he wouldn't go in and say, oh, I'm going to carve this out of this piece of stone, that he would start cutting away at the stone and see what the stone wanted to be. Right?
I remember something.
And so where you have like that client that makes way too much money and comes in and says, I'm going to make this house this for no reason. It's just that's what they want. Right? Versus saying, what does this house want to be?
Yeah.
Right?
I like it.
And there's fun in that though, right? Because it's not like, oh, we're going to take this HGTV kitchen and slap it in here. It's like, no. How could we work with the existing bones?
I like to work with what we got.
Because you've done a lot of downtown properties and things. Have you done any historic?
Well, they all seem to be historic. They were about falling down. But, you know, I just love, it's like, okay, this floor is uneven. Can we get under there and jack it up a little bit without losing the windows? Things like that.
You are good at that. Really
and, you know, just to revive a house. I think it comes from, you know, a Midwestern upbringing too. You know, there's some great architecture back in the Midwest that, you know, save that house. Don't just tear it down.
Well, in a sense of that we're losing that trait more and more, but frugality.
Yeah.
Right? Why do I just tear something in and throw in something just to say we could?
Well, maybe the pendulum is swinging, you know, back again. You know, everything changes all the time.
Oh, it's amazing on how certain things that have that you can, that's beautiful, right? When you see that home that has some of this classic kind of look that was maybe in 30 years ago, and you just have to maybe upscale it a little bit, but it's back.
Well, that was what was so much fun about when you and Stephanie got your house on Aspen. And it's a great house. And I walked into that dining room and it was like, oh, this is mine. You know, we're just gonna get into it this weekend, and we did. And of course, you think it's going to be a day, and you know, 4 days later, you're still working on it. But it was fun because you know it had just great bones to it. It had hardwood oak floors and you know, some molding to it that just needed to be, you know, put our mark on it.
Yeah, just reviving it. I think
which was fun.
Like,
but you know, I have to watch
classic cars, classic houses.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you have to watch that, and you've probably been there too. When you go show a house and you open the door, and it's like, this is not for you, you know. And then they love it and they buy it. So you got to watch what you say.
I've learned that sometimes. Like I'll get really strong on my opinion, and then they'll say, "Thank you, Chris. You showed us A and B, and you love B, but we're gonna go A." You know, and like. I have learned that there's
give them the
options.
and let them go free. Right?
We handle the process; they handle the decisions.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you know, it is fun. Everybody, you see potential, and I love it when other people see potential in a home, and want to just reveal that in kind of that Michelangelo that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But, and that's a big part of what it takes, and it always has been a big part of what it takes to own property in Flagstaff is to have that vision and be resourceful in so many different ways. And it's always a great buy, always a great investment for sure.
Well, and you hope that they stay too when they buy their homes.
We like to work with people.
I always am sorry when, those folks that, decide to leave, it's like, oh, I'm going to miss you. You're all part of Flagstaff.
And that's what I think a lot of folks see the mountain and see the real estate and the value, and but once they move in, like that's where you got to believe in like the community, and that's why I think it's really hard for a lot of folks that do rent here and want to make it happen because they know the community and they're like, but I got to bite off on that cost, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, And I know there's, I haven't lived a ton of places, but I haven't found a community quite like Flagstaff's. Right. And that I love that, you walk into, like you were saying, like how many folks have gotten married from the working at Mountain Sport. And then, in our little Flagstaff community of just, the folks that are moving and shaking and the shop owners and the, their employees and their crew and it's just, it's amazing. And I guess, really quick as we, to wrap here and because we could talk, you guys, the Flagstaff history, I'm sure you have stories for days. What are your thoughts? Where is the community heading, and what are your major up points or concerns on saying, hey, Flagstaff is always going to be this, but here's what we need to be careful on?
It's fun because I spent 6 years out of town, and coming back was, of course, a lot had changed. Yeah. But to me, it was exactly the same. It was just visual, new buildings, some old buildings had disappeared, but
sure,
I've moved away and back a few times, and for me at least, the Flagstaff that I've known and loved forever is still perfectly intact, and I think it's got a lot of strength that way. I think people come here for that and want to contribute to that character and that essence of our community. And so I feel like that's going to carry forward. I'm confident it is. I'm certainly hopeful it is going to carry forward because that's what we're all about. And some people who might not identify with that,
they move on.
Moving on to and looking for another community too.
Sure.
And, but I feel like there's something about it here that is really powerful and resonates with people. I think I speak for four of us in this room right now, but just it's this kind of momentum thing that it draws people here, and a lot of people. I mean, we're so hot right now, especially for the past few years. We're getting a lot of international attention, not just nationwide or statewide. Yeah, international attention, and that draws people who want to be part of the community. It draws the people who, like I say, who identify with it and want to contribute to it and support it and carry it forward. That's my assessment, especially in the past 3 years.
We don't have, we do have rose-colored glasses because we love this community. Yeah. And there are those who, and I think you find this anywhere that, it's gotten too big for me. I need to find something smaller. And it used to be just the opposite. When I first started real estate, I can remember people saying, I have to leave here because it's just, I know everybody at the grocery store. I just can't be anonymous. I remember that too. And now it's kind of,
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
but and I do think, the essence and character of the community is, there are challenges because a lot of, we need to really do everything we can to support that with keeping the people who have been here for a long time. Giving them the opportunities to stay here. Yeah. And that has a lot of different looks, and that's another multi-hour conversation we could have another time. But there's always a solution. And, I think we have some work to do to develop those, but it's not the Apollo mission. And the book's already been written in a lot of other communities too. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what is it that, one of the things that makes this Flagstaff pretty special is, not just the beauty of what we have, our surroundings, but we have, a university here, which makes it vibrant. We have tourism.
Yeah.
And of course we have, our community of working people, and I know there are other communities like that, but it makes us kind of diversified here in that way.
It's much different when we talk and compare Flagstaff to like a Park City or an Aspen. And I don't know like the economic numbers, but population wise, we are significantly larger, and we have that university, right? So we're this like ski town meets college town with then a very stable, strong like middle class with actual industry of Gore and between NAU and Gore, like we do have big employers, right? And so there's a lot of unique things that just intersect all right there. And it reminds me though of saw this this advertisement or this news piece, and they were saying, it's all going downhill. The kids are stuck to screens. They're rebellious. Like it's just like this loud in your face society. Everything's like we just have no hope for the future, and it says. Written in like 1980.
Yeah.
And so I think like we tend to really think our problems are the biggest problems. But if we talked through all your history, like it probably wasn't the easiest thing to own a business here in Flagstaff. And there's ups and downs and there's challenges. We've been through, world wars when you were growing up, and it's like, and so we now we're dealing with all this inflation and the same concerns of will my kids afford Flagstaff existed then. And they exist now. I think just comes down to a little bit of patience, planning, and faith.
And I don't know if you've talked much in your podcasts about the affordable housing. I am so for that for Flagstaff somehow, and it keeps getting circled around. That's a whole nother subject that would be interesting to.
Yeah, we have some challenges. We need to take a hold of for sure. But I think the key piece though. Not to have any last word on it, and let me as we get close on time here, but really I think that everyone would be best served to first, great if we can come together as a community and put some things in place and really help people in Flagstaff better afford Flagstaff that want to stay here. But I also think everyone I do believe in as much personal initiative and responsibility as we can, right? People saying, hey, if you want to own this town or own in this town, get that plan together. You might have to drive, maybe not the classic car that Bret has, but you might have to drive that older car. You might have to start saving a little bit. You might have to stop going to steakhouses quite as much. I am surprised on how many people really could, but they have to make changes, and that's a choice.
That's sage advice. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you always. It is. It's a plan. But the faith is really the kicker on that too, and believe in your plan and your process, and there's always a solution for sure.
And we're going to be, I'm sure we'll talk before then, but the centennial for mountain sport will be that much more exciting. This town's not going anywhere, nor is mountain sport. So
time flies. Yeah, it's not that far away.
Awesome. Maybe Henry will own at that point in time, or one of Lisa's. So awesome, you guys. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And pleasure to have you on.
It's been our pleasure, Chris. Thank you.